Good evening, good morrow, and good morning, everybody. Welcome to episode 2 of An Interview with a Master. Here we have welcome to the studio a wonderful brother, an incredible educator, and a sharer of light on the digital webs, a place that is always seemingly dark. Brother Tyler, welcome to the podcast. Thank you for joining me.
Thank you for having me, brother. This means a lot.
First things first, let's give a rundown. I know your audience is going to know everything that they can search and find about you, but who is Brother Tyler McKenzie?
Well, I am a father, husband, as well as author, and I make music, hip-hop music on YouTube, and then as well I entertain on TikTok, and then I also have another channel where I get into the exo and esoterics of things and kind of touch on some Freemason stuff, as well as just spiritual and enlightening ideas.
So we've got DirtyToesProductions, and then we have Harpocrates.
Yes.
Are there any other accounts in particular that you run? Or what's your YouTube channel? Is that also Dirty Toes Production?
Yes, all around I pretty much go by the Dirty Toes Production. That's where I do a lot of my entertainment stuff, as well as my music, as well as I do have a book out, which is called ShXt Happens, spelt with an I, or spelt with an X, not an I. But so we kind of utilize that for the entertainment side of everything. And then Harpocrates is for the education and Masonic stuff.
Harpocrates. Well, I'm an idiot, and I'm sorry I've been butchering that. So I keep calling you Harpocrates, not Harpocrates. That's which makes like hypocrites. I'm an idiot. So thank you for that, that lesson of education. Thank you. That's wow. I'm embarrassed.
No, it's okay. Actually, a lot of people on TikTok, they say it exactly the same. Harpocrates. In your name, you can't put the little thing on the top. And I was trying to, and it just kept telling me I couldn't do it. I'm like, people are just going to keep calling me crates. And actually they keep calling me milk crates because of that whole milk crate thing going on. So
that is the weirdest thing. And I mean, to be honest, I'm uneducated. I don't know enough about it in regards to.
Yeah.
I don't know. I feel like I came in onto the end side of it after like a week TikTok sabbatical, and it was just everywhere. I want to post a viral conspiracy theory like that. I mean, some of these people get massive content off of just posting whatever. And I mean, to each to their own. I think I'm doing it wrong.
Yeah, we're doing something wrong. I don't know. I think if we went that way, we could definitely blow up real big. I don't even know what happened with my channel, but
your channel was actually, I feel like that's been it's been one of my my favorite like growth stories has been looking at your channel in particular. How would you describe that? And it seems like in the last, I don't know, 6 months or so, you've gone, I mean, you're almost 20,000 followers now on TikTok.
Yeah. And actually I did that, I would say within about 4 months.
Good God.
Because I came on, I know a few people on TikTok that their channels are just good grow channels. Sometimes that's what their purpose is to get channels to grow. And they're not like normal grow channels where there's just so much talking going on, you can't interact or anything. There's a lot of people there, and that's what's great. It's for that growth. But I went there and just talked in those chats and at least got myself up to 1,000. But once I hit 1,000, I don't know what happened. Like, I just hit that one video. It was the tour of my lodge, and
that was a good video. I remember. I can distinctly remember that one. In fact, that one caused me to do the Googles on Sandoval Lodge, because I wanted to say, I was like, that's a gorgeous square and compass out front. It's a very it looked very magnanimous phasing through it.
Yeah. And that, like, that just grabbed everybody's attention, because most people view us as so secretive that we don't even show the inside of our lodge. So I'm like, let's go into the most secretive building in my state, and kind of made it mysterious, and it intrigues them and wanting to come in. And most of them, they're like, I don't like when people have episodes and parts, and part 1, part 2, part 3. And I'm like, well, I'm about to smack them with part 14.
Let's get it on.
And I have so many views just throughout that. It's amazing the connections though that it gives.
The educational like integrity behind, like, just on a Masonic level, that was where the part where I really feel like, to be honest, that was what got me on the follow. That's what got me driven on to wanting to share and engage more with you and your content. Was clearly something was inspiring you to be very, what I would call, Masonically ballsy, in regards to like presentation on the internet. Personally, I love your approach. This is the approach that I pushed for when I first started in Masonry, but I got a lot of resistance, and I mean a lot of resistance from my lodge, from the only brethren I knew within the craft were like, yeah, no, that's the wrong, like, you don't talk about, you don't share that, that's only for those inside the lodge. And they didn't treat it as, the secrets bound in obligation that we don't reveal, but they really, there's a fine line of separation. And when I got on and I saw your content where you were openly educating and go basically diving headfirst into conspiracy theories to address them, that shit's incredible. What inspired you to do that?
Well, Widow Miho was part of it. But I would say the biggest part is the way today's generation is, they want transparency. They want to know what things are about before they get a part of it. They like the mystery as well, and it's good to capture them by that. But to be able to know something of what you're getting a part of helps that much more in their comfortability of asking, well, anything further. And so I noticed that some of the brethren on TikTok, and not to talk bad, but they come with sometimes an aggressive approach, or kind of a sarcastic approach, and I was like, I'm the type of person that I deal with so many channels. Through the Dirty Toes production, I moderate well over 150 to 200 channels.
Good God.
And me having that knowledge, and I've been doing it for almost 10 years, having that knowledge, I know how to be level, and I know how to go to different channels and mod their channels the way they want it, and be able to notice a troll or notice something that's going to go bad or twisted, and notice it before the host is going to view it, before he even trips into their bait. Right. So I'm so level with that I can, even when somebody does come in and want to troll, I can talk to them nicely and like even ask them, what's wrong? Are you having a bad day? And sometimes they'll flip and they'll be like, yeah, actually this happened today. And you can tell they're being genuine. And then you're now talking to somebody that was first coming in to attack, and now you got them talking. And
you've diffused the situation.
Yes, and I know, and I'm not saying it's bad that the brethren are doing their part, but if they are already going to do that, I'm very sarcastic. I'm a crude comedian rapper, so yeah. So I can be funny and do that. So, but I was like, if they're already taking that approach, then we need a brother that's taking this approach, where they're completely level. Sometimes they're funny and humorous, which I have some of my humor, but I'm not really satire, and I'm not like really crude about it. I just put a little humor in there to spice things up.
Yeah, and when you're humorous, it's definitely extreme enough that you notice it, is in the sense that it's not like you can clearly tell you're playing on on a part of the story, not.
Yeah, and I even allow them to know in, the little title thing, Masonic Humor. I'm trying to be funny. I'm just wanting to give you something. And so if we're going to have this approach, we do need this approach. And my state is kind of behind with things, in my opinion, with social media. This is my opinion. And they are in that mind frame, as you explained, where it's like, there's only so much you say. We should keep people in the dark. The mystery and stuff is what brings people in. And it's like, yes, but even when you tell people stuff, they don't understand what we're saying.
No, I mean, that's fair.
And they don't still fully know what we're talking about until they get there, and until they do the education and get part of everything. Now they will get it. And so what I want to do is I want to broaden as much as I can tell them,
Mhm.
but I want to give it as much as just my opinion so that I am not ruining things at the same time.
I like that approach. I think that's definitely, it's like you're educating, but you're not necessarily allowing them to their imagination to potentially take what media and our society, our social media may drive it into. I mean, I'll be honest, my first, okay, so let me roll back. What was looking at you in your Masonic career? What induced you to become a Freemason? What brought you to the fraternity and craft?
About roughly 10 years ago, me and my wife were in a DWI collision,
Mm,
where me and her were disabled, and the two people in the other car passed away. The
mm,
two people in the other car were the ones that were drinking and driving, but their choices changed my wife and my course for the rest of our lives.
mm,
So because we can't work and do those things, we're always trying to find little projects and little things to do to make ends meet and make life work.
right.
But we also had we were sitting in darkness in a sense, for about 2 years after the collision, because dealing with attorneys and doctors and family now not wanting to talk to you because you're more of an inconvenience because you're now disabled and not able.
Mm,
Just so much where you're just like, you know what? I don't like the world. I hate the world. And that's not me. That's not the type of person I am. And that's why I
mm,
became such an inconvenience to some people, because I was so helpful that when I couldn't help at all and I'm asking for help, they're like, oh, well, you can't help me. And that's, a lot of them came back around later, and they even said it was hard for them to deal with us being disabled. And that helps me to be in a good mind frame, because they are dealing with it too, and
mhm.
they're going to deal with my disabilities in a different way as well. So I accepted the way they took it, but it hurt. So I was looking for purpose. I was looking for something to be a part of, be in my community. So I'm not even an inconvenience in my own eyes, that I'm just laying there in bed crying about my pain.
Mm.
So my wife and I did research into a bunch of charities, and a lot of them, I understand how the organizations run and I respect it, but most of the money that they raise stays in the organization to help it run and function, because their members don't pay dues. So only a small percentage of it actually goes out. And to me, it's not full true charity.
Mhm.
Um, and so my wife was like, well, wasn't your grandfather a Mason? I said, yeah, he was, but that's conspiracy stuff. I don't want to get into that. And she's like, no, no. I read Morals and Dogma, and it has nothing to do with all that crazy
Oh
stuff
shit.
there.
So your wife was was the motivator for like the what I would call the level line there. That's
Yeah.
incredible. What on earth she doing reading Morals and Dogma? That's awesome. That's insane. I
Well,
like
she was on some travels in life, and one of the places she stopped was in Washington D.C., or it might have been Maryland. Don't quote me on that, but it was
fair.
somewhere in the East Coast, and she saw a statue of Albert Pike, and he was
Mhm.
holding the book Morals and Dogma in his hand, and she just was like, "What's so important about this? Why this? Just Albert Pike, check it out."
Yeah, yeah.
And so she's like, I'm gonna look into that. And while she was there's a library. She looked for it. She got it. She was reading it while she was out there. And she's like, I did more research into Masonry and found it's more of a charity organization. I was like, all right, well, fine. I'll research it. So I did the next best thing, then typing in Freemasonry. Don't type in Freemasonry. If you want to find stuff on Freemasonry, be direct. If you want to know what Masonry does in your city, your state, type in your state name and then Freemasonry, and it'll bring you to truth. So that's kind of what I did. And
Yeah,
I
you gotta
researched
get
it.
relative with it. Or yeah, get, like don't just be generic. That makes
Yeah.
sense.
And because it uses algorithms, and I noticed Mason pages, they don't use Freemason a lot. They use
Well, yeah, no,
Brotherhood,
it's kind of like
Fraternity.
it's yeah, it's funny. I noticed that like we're Masons, we're not free, and not that we aren't, but it's not necessarily something. It's just it's not in the vernacular, so that's
Yeah.
funny. I didn't never catch that.
And
Like,
conspirators, they do it all kinds. They every like sentence is like, well, the Freemasons do this and the Freemasons do that and the Freemasons do this.
that's
And so I'm like,
sign number one.
yeah, so they don't say New Mexico Freemasons or Alabama Freemasons. So if you type that in, you change the whole algorithm. So it started bringing me to stuff here in my state. And so I started reading that and I'm like, this isn't all that stuff that they were saying it is. So I went to a lodge and it went from there. I wanted to be a part of something that was bigger than me. And not saying masonry is bigger than me. The charity, the idea, the come together, the brotherhood, the relief, the just everything about it. And I wanted to give back to my community as well as make myself a better man, because at that time, within that 2 years of that just breakdown of me, I wasn't a better man. I was still a good man, but I wasn't a better man, and I could be better. And I didn't want to stay in that dark hole anymore. So me and my wife, we traveled out, and I'm a brother now.
And welcome. And that brings up, and that runs us up. So you're currently the junior warden of Sandoval Lodge, right? Or I believe if I've got that correct. If I did my Googles, I was on your lodge's website and on the Grand Lodge's website.
Did you check our newsletter?
I did, actually.
The trestle board?
Yep. I was looking through some of the different, it was August's trestle board.
My wife completely puts that together herself, other than some of the stuff is articles from brethren giving it to her, but she puts all together every bit of that.
No. Okay. So is she a part of OES?
No.
Wow.
She is probably the most active wife in Freemasonry. Like, she's not a Mason, and she can't be. We all know that. But she loves Masonry and loves what it's doing for me and her, just growing us and giving us purpose. I mean, when we first walked in the doors, they saw me walk in with a cane and a limp. And I mean, if you walk into a job, the first thing they ask you, well, what can't you do? We need to know what you can't do. And that was actually what a lot of friends and family said right after our collision. But when I walked through those doors in Masonry, I walked in, they said, what can you do? What can you do for Masonry? That and what do you want from Masonry? Not negatives. It was all positives. And that just blew me away.
That that initial experience with the fraternity for so many brethren. And oftentimes I think this is, to lean back on kind of your point on the need to have what I would say is like the straightforward and real, kindly blunt Mason, rather than the real ironic or satirical when it comes to educating. It has to do with that initial experience. And even, why we convey what we convey, the way we convey it emanates so often from the experience and creating a positive experience for people from start to finish. And you were met with this positive experience that helped anchor you and, the reasons why you would want to be here. And the fact that your wife has looked at you and that's where she drives value from the fraternity is how it has caused change for you and in your life together. That's remarkable. To be honest, I would love to get my wife involved in Freemasonry. Every time I start talking, she's like, I love you, honey, but you don't just stop. It's okay. You can go to lodge. You need to go to library. Go. Just shut up. But she's very supportive of it in that in that space. That's just wow. So has she ever thought about joining OES, or is it more she's happy being what I would say is probably your right hand?
She's really happy with being, as you're saying, my right hand. My daughter, she's in Job's Daughters, which is a female youth organization. And she's going through the line in Job's Daughters, and I'm going through the line in Blue Lodge. So
my cat opened the cabinet.
So me going through that and my daughter going through that, me and my wife being disabled, it is kind of hard for us sometimes to do a lot. So my daughter, we have like 3.5 more years until she's 18. and then we'll be there to still always support her, but then she can kind of take her own reins at Job's Daughters until she's 21. But and then at that point I'll be done with the line in Blue Lodge, and then we were going to talk about maybe joining OES together and go through that, and maybe something else, but we don't like to make those types of goals yet. Like, always have long-term goals, but some things don't worry about until the time comes. So we're more just focused on, let's get dinners done because I'm junior warden.
Sometimes, I mean, the amount of work that goes into simple things like business, dinners, and then other places where I was, passive aspect, it's really the work you're doing, which is updating, which is modernizing. You're junior warden, which means in just a bit, you're really, you're kind of going to be coming to that point. I know it's an elected position, but usually junior, senior, worshipful. You're going to be coming to, absolutely. Fingers crossed. I can't imagine why not, especially with the engagement you drive, because that's, engagement and education. These are things which I would call are maybe Cold War ideals of the fraternity, it seems, but it used to be what we were really about was engagement and prolific identification of our fraternity alongside of common communal goals and projects. There's a reason that a lodge is almost in every town, and or was at some point in time a town hall or a building. It's a part of the history. It's not just it ain't just a boys club. It's not just the Elks Lodge. I mean, you're talking the people who founded our country, people who founded your city, little leaders and big leaders, oftentimes gathered together on these precepts of hope, faith, and charity. And so inevitably, when you talk about that, I'm like, yes, that is the best fucking answer you could give. I love it. I love it. Okay, so now as you're in the line, as you're going through this path, tell me what would you hope for your lodge as worshipful master?
I wish that they're able to get the right education that they need and want, as well as the connections in the lodge, as well as out of the lodge that they need to grow as people, so that we can grow our lodge, find things that will make us more active, make it more fun. I think one thing I want to bring to the table when I master is I want to make fun out of Masonry, not make fun of Masonry, but make fun out of it. We need to have jokes. We need to have fun. We need to make I think almost every lodge I visited, there's always that one brother that stands up at one point and gives a joke. There's always that one joke guy. And whatever it is, for a degree or for every meeting or whatever it is, there's that one brother that, hey, I got the joke of the day. And we leave it at that, though. Like, the best camaraderie I've had being at lodge is the times where we're messing up ritual. We're laughing about it. We're just like, just keep going, keep rolling.
Just say no. Go, don't stop.
We'll make it through. I got you. But and then too, the every so often that joke that does get made. So, and I noticed that's what makes it more lively. So why make lodge meetings mundane? Why make presentations mundane? Let's have that goat joke every so often. Let's
absolutely.
I mean, even in like a TikTok, let's just throw up rock on, and they're like, oh, they're evil. No, that's rock on, man.
I mean,
enjoy it, dude.
Keep it hard. Like, yeah.
So it's about being ourselves and showing that we are regular people. That's important.
I like that one a lot, especially with the be yourself, because I struggle. I mean, to be honest, I struggle with that. So what would you suggest to, you've got a new candidate or an entered apprentice who's coming to your lodge, and he's a little out there. He's different. We live in a society full of different people, especially today, that have openly stepped out of boxes and openly come into places where judgment and fear of being judged stops and prevents a lot of people from moving. What would you do, or what would you say to that, that young Mason who's really afraid to be themselves in lodge? They feel like they need to be this colonial form, but they're in love with the symbols. They're an esoteric spiritual symbolist like myself, but they don't necessarily, conform to some of the other aspects of it, but they love the camaraderie. They engage in that esoteric study. What would you say to them, or what would you encourage for them?
I say, because a lot of members that come in definitely as EAs, a lot of them definitely feel everything's kind of mundane because they think that they're new. They're just an EA. They don't have like a voice.
Mm-hmm.
And I say the same thing to them as I say to a fellow craft, as well as a master mason, and even a prospect, one that's been coming in and maybe is even petitioned.
Mm-hmm.
This is your lodge. Even if you haven't been voted on yet, you want to be here, correct? Well, yeah, I do. Okay. This is your lodge. Start speaking up now.
Okay.
Tell what you want. Even as a prospect, what do you want from masonry? What are you searching for? What do you want masonry to give back to you?
Mm-hmm.
Ask these questions and be verbal, be straightforward, be from the heart, and make sure you think before you speak, though.
Yeah, no, that's an
But
important thing. I like that
speak from the
disclaimer.
heart, because the heart is what we're looking for. When you come into masonry, we don't care about your politics. We don't care about your religion. That doesn't show who a person is. Your heart does. So speak from the heart, but let it go through the brain before it comes through the mouth. But definitely, once you are voted on and you are initiated and you are an entered apprentice, fellow craft, or master mason, you are now in the lodge. That is your lodge. Open your mouth. When you have something to say, speak it. If the lodge doesn't like it, they'll vote it down or
Sure.
vote for it or whatever, and have discussion. But also, don't allow that type of stuff to detour you, because sometimes bringing new things to the plate, when they hear it the first time, it might not be accepted. Be consistent, but also don't be too pushy.
Consistent but persistent.
Yeah, let them know these are great things, and then maybe even try it yourself and show them your progress, and then present it to them again so they can go, And for an example, as I came into the lodge, I was always saying, hey, I got these ideas for these wristbands and this little token we can do and raise money. And they're like, no. Or, well, yeah, that's a good idea, but I don't know. And they kept doing that, and that kept detouring me. I'm like, well, fine, I'm not going to come up with any more ideas. But right as I said that, I went, oh, wait, hold on. I don't like that. And I went, I'm going to go do these wristbands on my own. I'm going to go do these token things on my own, and I'm going to sell them on my own. And when I get the money, I'm going to give it to them, and then they're going to go, oh, now I see what he says.
I love
But
to
now
hear
that I
this.
did that, everything else I say now they're more willing to be like, you got an idea, run with it, instead of, I don't know, because they've seen what I can do.
This is really interesting in regards to like, just I'm kind of having some personal epiphanies when you describe this journey, because it's one thing, it relates a lot to me. And I'm like, I hear that, because I feel like it's something I struggled with as a young Mason, starting both excited, but oftentimes hindered, because that youthful ambition of an entered apprentice, both in life, right? You can be a master Mason, and there's this lovely paradox of being both an entered apprentice at all times, always learning, always simply working on just consistent action in a positive way. And then other times you're a fellow craft. And what I really heard when you described what you did was that if I'm starting, you need to remember that this is a scholarly, this is fraternity. It's based on education, if nothing else, repetition, clear dictation where possible, and to present yourself accordingly. If you're going to make an argument, go back to science. What was your theory? Did you think it was going to work? Did you provide evidence? Did you do it? Did you take example? Did you act like a master mason at the trestle? Or did you is this stone good? Is this, are these marks right? And I like that. That was not really something that I kind of like. I realized that I did that. I approached it like an entered apprentice. Later, definitely like a fellow craft, pain in the ass to all of my lodge with my repetitive, like, hey, what about this? And like, we need to get a Facebook page, and and then eventually they're like, you should just shut up. No, actually, I never said that's a lot. They never gave me that response, but there was definitely that space, like, you need to learn more before you talk.
And
Where I
sometimes
was,
they have that.
Yeah.
And I understand sometimes where they're coming from, but we're in such a progressive day and age that I do have to say to some of them is, you need to listen to the youth. The youth know what they want and they know what they're looking for. And I know what got my attention, and I know what's catching a lot of these other people's attention. So we need to listen to them. And I'm not even just meaning they need to listen to just me. They need to listen to you. They need to listen to all of the youth, even ones that are not Masons yet. The younger men that listen to what people want. And I understand we can't give out certain secrets, even if they wanted it,
Mm-hmm.
but we can still give them some type of personal experience with us to where we can help them grow to where they become more interested in us. I mean, how can you know to even ask about something that you don't even know exists?
Yeah, I mean, yeah. It's the what you don't know that you don't know, it's like that percentage of information just gets infinitely larger.
Back in the day, we kind of relied on people to tell their children about it and get their families and friends involved. Maybe not, I know that it was you either had to be invited or ask one, but to some degree, I mean, who wouldn't ask their son, hey, come to dinner, come to this dinner, hey, and then they come and then they want to get involved. But at one point we just like stopped talking about everything so much to where we didn't even know our parents or our uncles or our grandparents were even Masons until they die. And
Yeah, until
then
they have
now
that,
now
the
we
men
can't.
came out of the woodwork to perform.
Yeah, and now they don't have no one to ask, and they don't have any connection, so they just kind of forget about it. And then they see me or you on TikTok and they're like, hey, it's somebody I can ask. Hey, my grandfather or this, and then we can reconnect them to that. So, but it takes us being in the present.
It's funny, fraternity, which is so based in ancient allegory, that ends up being what I would call like our tets of survival, of existing in a progressive space is really moving. It's movement. It's changing and shifting something that looking into the next space. And I think it's incredibly kind and considerate of you to say to listen to those younger generations, those younger Masons, because that's not the opinion I've heard from a lot of others. Emanating from a space that we need to get back to more traditional values. We need to get back to more, more of the rigid, more of the I wouldn't call separatist, but more of the elitist aspects, where we're drawing more lines about what qualifies a good man versus not. So when you look, then, considering this, let's roll in a positive aspect. We do it 10 years from now. What do you think the fraternity internationally looks like? And we can keep it, locally, because I know that internationally the fraternity is very different. But just in 10 years from now, what do you think? What do you think it's going to look like?
I honestly think if we keep doing what we're doing, we're going to grow massively. Now, we're going to have some declines because even these people that are getting on TikTok and seeing things are still going to have that national treasure mind frame. And when they get in, it's going to fade away and they're not going to want to stay. But I think there's going to be, because of our transparency to some degree and just being personal with people and being able to have these one-on-one conversations with them, I think we're going to have a big growth. I think if we become more traditional about things again, back 20, 30, 40, 50 years ago,
Mhm.
I think that will actually, it will make us as the best words I could use, like yours, more elitist type of way. Like, you've got to be held to this way higher standard. And I said earlier that we should show people that we are just regular people like everyone else.
Mhm.
And I don't want it to be taken wrong as in then it doesn't matter to hold ourselves to a higher standard. Just because we're holding ourselves to a higher standard does not make us better than anybody else.
I like
So
that.
just because I'm holding myself to a higher standard doesn't mean I can't meet these people on the same level and show them I'm just as funny and fun loving and entertaining as the next guy. That's who I am. This is the type of person I am. So we need to show that we're just people. that do hold ourselves to a higher standard, but we're just like you. And you can be just like me.
You see, I like
That's the
that.
point.
I like that. All right. So when speaking about that individual journey and going into that space of really what would motivate an individual to want to be better, or to, to look inward at some of the things that they've done outward, let's talk about, your book, ShXt Happens. So what brought this into reality? I mean, bullying is something that everybody on some level is going to have experience with, but not a lot of people talk about. I mean, I know we're coming to an era now where it's, more prevalent, it's more, but a lot of people are really quiet about it. What brought this to the forefront for you, and why did you want to speak out?
Well, just like you said, everybody's going to have some type of experience with it. Either they were a bully, or they were a victim of bullying, or they watched family or friends that experienced bullying and they kind of experienced it from the outside viewing in. And when I grew up, I was highly bullied for all kinds of different things, from the spacing between my teeth to just, you're a faggot, or whatever they're going to call you.
Shit kids say.
Yeah, shit happens, right? And the type of things I noticed is people around them were always fighting against it. And I just noticed it always escalated. I was always the type of person that you talk crap to me, I'd pop you in the mouth. I didn't handle crap. Like, I did not handle it. I was in a fight almost every single day in school. And my dad around like 9th, 10th grade was like, okay, Tyler, you really need to cut this out. And I'm like, Dad, these kids are evil at school. You don't understand. Like, they're just mean. And I have no other thing to do than to defend myself. And I just had this moment where I was sitting there going, there's got to be another way. There has to be another way. Batman says so.
Who else? Kid, I mean,
right?
I mean, come on,
I'm a kid. There's always another way. But so I started going to school, and instead of popping them in the mouth, I started asking them, what's wrong? What, I'm hurting and I want to lash out and pop them in the mouth. Well, why are they lashing out at me? Something's going on in their life. And I found out some of them were abused at home, or they were picked on by other kids at school, but now they're around me and they can lash out on me because I seemed weaker than them. And sometimes I made the greatest friends from those bullies. And they completely changed from being a bully. So a bully, I'm never against, because that person can become a good person again and get out of being bullied, because usually it's they don't understand you, or they've been attacked so much they don't know how to react to you. So let's teach people, let's guide them. So around 16, I started noticing I was even getting bullied into them calling me a Columbine, because they noticed how much I was bullied. And so they saw how much I was bullied. They're like, you're going to be one of those kids to shoot up the school because you get bullied so much. And what they're not realizing is you're still bullying me. You're telling me what I'm going to become. And I'm like, okay. So I got into creative writing class, and my teacher said, write something very controversial. What's more controversial than being in high school and writing a Columbine style story?
Did you? Oh my God, that's, I was just like, shit.
And she went, okay, Tyler, you did exactly what I said. And I should have known better.
It's like, you get an A. I'm not marked in the grade.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
I did get an A. But she's like, you went a little far. But one of the kids, because we had to read it into the class, and one of the kids in class was like, that would be an amazing book, because I still had teaching stuff in the little quick thing I did for class. And they were like, that would make a good book if you could broaden it. And I was all, nah, whatever. But hey, I'm in creative writing class, and sometimes you have time to pass and write. So I was like, I want to help people, and I want to guide them from thinking I have to kill myself. I want to guide them from thinking I have to shoot up my school. I want to guide them from thinking I want to go and kill my parents. And I know I'm sounding a little dark here, but
I mean, unfortunately not, to be honest, when it comes to the reality, you know, which is, you know, at one point in time that was dark, but today it's a reality. We live in
yeah.
such a twisted space with macro little bubbles of abuse that don't get addressed or handled or just thought about in a constructive way. So
And
no, I mean,
that right there is why I wrote my book, is because all these documentaries and all these books and all these self-help things with bullying and getting over bullying and trauma, they sugarcoat things way too much, in my opinion. And with my book, I didn't sugarcoat a thing. I gave it to you exactly how it is. With, I mean, the only sugarcoating I guess I did is I took the I out of shit.
I was about to say, I can.
That's like the only censoring I kind of did with the book. But other than that, I gave it to everybody as is, and I wanted to change lives. I wanted to show them that there's another outlet. You can make music like I do. You can write a journal. You can write a book and put it out there to the world. And I even wrote a song called ShXt Happens to promote my book. And that's on YouTube. And in that, I even really hammer that to the people in one of my verses. You don't have to go shoot up your school. Go write a book or make some hip hop like I just did. Like, you're listening to an outlet right here.
You're hearing the thing that I did, that, you know, I like that. I like that. Well, I need to go listen to this song. Because that's actually that's because, you know, because that was one of the first things when we met and began internet friendship on a live. I was doodling, and you came on and you gathered up a bunch of brethren and it started the Facebook page, the number one, the Masonic. I can never remember the TikTok Masonic Lodge number one,
Yes.
however it goes, that, and you formed that and you founded that. And it started with this space, you know, you basically presented yourself as an esoteric rapper, as a, you know, and that immediately caught my interest because the amount of times and like shameful hours I spend in front of this microphone and some free instrumental beat trying to take an esoteric or spiritual like thing that I've got in my head, and I want to try to, you know, spin it into a medium that I feel like both catches you, you feel it, etc. You know, that's at the root of R&B and or rap, but I've not done it successfully. So when you're like, you know, like this is something I've been working on again, I was like, oh, that's really cool. So I need to research and understand more about this. So let's look at Dirty Toes Productions. What are you currently working on? Any individual, any larger projects, anything that anything that we could highlight, sponsor, or take into a dive?
Well, with everything that I release, I like to release them as acronyms, because sometimes I like to play games with people.
Mm-hmm.
And the main game is try and guess the name of whatever it is that I'm doing. So right now I'm working on an album called BS. So most people are going to probably take it a certain way, which is fine. Go ahead. That's what I want you to do. And then I'm going to slam it to you what it actually means in the end. And then you go, oh, okay, well, that was not what I thought it would be. But so I'm working on BS right now, and I think I'm like 5 or 6 songs in. And actually today I just jotted down a whole new rap, and I now need to perfect it. And then there'll be a new song coming here soon. And then that's mainly the main stuff I work on with Dirty Toes. And then the other thing that I'm going to be doing is the TikToks. I need to get back into the Dirty Toes production TikToks. But I feel I was doing something wrong. And that is, I kind of strayed off of the course of what the Dirty Toes does.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to go in and actually delete all that stuff. And then I'm going to get back onto the page that I was on and get it going again. But I needed to, I started Harpocrates, and that Harpocrates, that just
It
blew
really,
up.
I mean, it
And
blew up.
I had to pay attention to that for a moment. It got overwhelming. So now that it's kind of leveled out, it's still rising pretty quickly, but it's a pretty good level rise, not like straight up.
You kind of got to get back to a little more of a consistent.
Yeah, I like entertaining everybody, and actually, it's no offense to Harpocrates or Masonry, but sometimes that gets mundane.
It's a niche, man. And I
life.
totally get that. The amount of times I want to hop on, I'm like, oh, there's a viral TikTok thing that looked funny as hell. I want to do it. And then I'm like, that inevitably is not what the niche, you know, like don't get me wrong. Like I know that a lot of like the people constantly engaged, they're either like the Freemason, they're like they support me because we've had some Masonic education, or it's not like it caught more fire and attention on the channel than I expected, talking about Freemasonry. And in general, like that was one of the first like attentive TikToks I made, was one like, this is what Freemasonry is or means to me or whatever. And I'm like, well, that blew up way more than I expected. So when you dive back into doing more esoteric things, I actually ended up creating a separate TikTok to try to piece out that, to pull it away, because I felt like it got so niched into Masonry.
Yeah, and like when I was so blown away because I put so much work into all my TikToks on the Dirty Toes production. Like so much work. People have no idea on some of those videos. It sometimes takes me like an hour, because sometimes then you delete stuff and then you have to redo it
You're like,
over.
gosh,
And you're like,
son of a, absolutely.
But
Oh God, no one will know the amount of
I put
effort.
out that one video where I fall into my suit and then it transitions and I'm in it.
Yeah.
Everybody's like, dude, you did so good on that transition. I screwed up. That's how it got so good. Like I screwed up that thing and I released it, and then I had to cut it out and I had to re-release it with this edit in there. And I was like, oh my God, this thing's gonna suck. And somehow in its re-uploading, the whatever happened, the glitch in it uploading actually set everything just right to where it came out perfect.
That
And I'm
was
like,
slick. I remember that one. I mean, just like
that was a
boom. I mean,
complete
coming out looking
accident.
fine. It's yeah.
And then and I took like 3 or 4 takes on that, and then that blew up, and that I didn't do anything, and I'm like, what the hell? And that's the one that threw me up through the roof. And I was like, and then I, a little bit like right after that, I put out the tour of the lodge, and then that one just,
And so you basically could kind of pivot off some of that success
yeah.
and attention from one to the other. I mean, damn. All
And
right.
that's why I want to get back to the Dirty Toes production too, is I don't want people to think though that I am doing all of Harpocrates to get attention,
Yeah.
to get views. Yes, it matters because it's a channel and you want it to grow. And yes, you want the attention so people are getting the education. Why else would I be giving education?
Right.
But it's
Right.
not like, look at me, what I'm doing. I really don't care for hat chasing. I really don't care for title chasing. Um, I have the Dirty Toes production for that, and that's why I do want to get back to that, so that there I can be all hee and doing my thing, and
Yeah.
I can have it separated, and so that people do understand that I'm never doing this for that. I'm doing it for your education. I'm doing it for you to have enlightenment, because in all reality, I already have it. I already have it. It's already here. It's already here. And the only reason I'm giving this is so you have light, so you have something to go research. And that's how I can be selfless with the light that I hold. And I believe that God and my brethren want light to be shined out there, even when they're saying, I don't know if we should be saying all of this. They do. They
Light
want it.
shines, right? We don't decide what becomes of what that light touches. So I feel it.
Who really wants to do that to light? Who wants to do that?
No, right. Right.
Nobody, and especially a brother shouldn't want to. So let's spread as much light as we can, but not too much to where we are harming ourselves, but not keeping it so secret that we're harming ourselves.
Well, brother, what a fantastic closing point. And likewise, I think that encapsulates entirely some of the motivations and the questions we've asked and we've gone through in this space. I feel like I know you better now, and I really want to buy your book. So, nothing else. This is a great sales pitch. But no, I'm excited. And I think that's one of those things for any of our viewers who are on, for any of those who are listening, you've got to get over to the Amazon. There's going to be a link both down in the description, over on the YouTube, posted on our website, for ShXt Happens, written by brother Tyler McKenzie, a wonderful author, phenomenal storyteller, and an incredible content creator. Thank you for joining us. Was there anything I can leave you with? Would you like to send us off?
If I can just have my little thing to say, and I know you probably have your thing too, but
no, go. Come on.
I always like to tell everybody to remember that even in your darkest hour, you can be a lighthouse to someone in their darkest year. Life never gives you more than you can handle. You just got to find the handles, grab on, hold on for the ride, because life is a roller coaster and it sure will get bumpy. And if I don't see you again, good afternoon, good evening, and good night. thank you for having me on here, brother. And I really appreciate this.
Oh, this was a pleasure. Thank you for joining me. Have a wonderful one. Thank you, everybody. Have a wonderful night. Be well, and we'll see you on our next one. Peace, brother.